Welcome to San Diego's Best and Brightest. I'm Beck Bamberger. You may think radio has had its heyday. Today it's all about online programming, on-demand video, everything that's internet-based. But when WS Radio came online, a whole new medium was born. Today I'm here with Chris Murch, the CEO and founder of WS Radio, the world's largest internet radio station, headquartered here in San Diego. Chris, thank you for being with me today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Chris, you have a Navy background and a Marine background. How did you come up with the idea to create an internet radio station?
Well, I'm really more of an entrepreneur. I did graduate from the Naval Academy. I was a Marine officer and enjoyed serving, but more than anything, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And in the 90s, I was involved with internet marketing and way back when in the early days, and was successful at that. And part of what I was doing is I was doing a show about the internet on regular radio, and it was streaming, and I had customers all over the world listening to it. And for a number of legal reasons, they shut down the streaming, and I realized that at that time in 2001, there was an opportunity to start our own internet talk radio network, and that's what we did.
Did a lot of people tell you were crazy, that this internet radio would never work, that it would never grab a spot online or on the internet?
That's interesting. For me, when I first looked at internet talk radio, again, having success in the internet, I knew that if you worked at it, if it had something to do with the internet, it could be successful. So from my personal perspective, I knew I could make it successful. It's just been an interesting trip on getting there.
How did you grow WS Radio, Chris, from 5 shows back in 2001 to the world's leading internet radio station today? Was it through viral marketing and people just hearing more and more about you, or did you need to sell every single show every day today?
Well, that's a good question, and one of the things I always tell people is 95% of the things that we tried did not work the way we thought they would work. And it really was a trial and error. It really was working at it, but the 5% of success that we would generally come up with, we would tweak it and we'd keep working it. And there's a combination of factors that we put together from our experience that's made us successful, and even today we're still learning.
What's a barrier to enter your industry, Chris? Is it just the sheer number of shows that you have, so that Joe from off the street couldn't start tomorrow with 50 shows and say, hey, I'm a new radio station? What do you think?
From our perspective, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. And so there's a number of factors to produce a professional sounding, highly content, and a show that will actually gain listeners. And so there's a lot of people out there doing podcasts, but doing it professionally and sounding good with good content is a whole nother ballgame.
When people look at the WS Radio website, it's pretty impressive, Chris. There's so many shows on there, and it really makes you think, how can this company have so many shows, finance them, and create them? So there must be something interesting going on here. What is the model of WS Radio that makes it so much different from traditional radio or even other medias that we know of?
Well, you're right. We have a very different model. We produce over 100 shows, and they're niche shows for the most part. But we actually partner with our host, and depending on the show and depending on the content and depending on how much traffic they can drive to the show, for the most part, they pay the production fees, and then we roll up our sleeves and we help them garner an audience and meet their goals on what they're trying to accomplish. So instead of us paying hosts as talent and to show up every day to be on the air, the host and the companies are paying us to produce it. It's a big difference.
On WS Radio, there's an eBay show, there's a beach tennis show, there's even a gun show, Chris. There's a whole variety. Do you think that internet radio, with its customized niched audiences, is going to take over traditional radio or even other types of media just because of that specialization?
Yeah, long term we have that vision, and what I always explain to people is 20 years ago, there were 3 major television news networks, ABC, CBS, and NBC. And basically whatever they pushed out that day is what you got. When the internet came along, it became more of a pull mechanism where people can pull the information on demand when they want it. And that's really a big part of our model. We archive our shows, people listen on demand, and so they go in and are able to listen to what they want, when they want, and we even break up the shows by topic so they can get to write what they want to listen to. And we see that as being more and more popular, and eventually I think that's how mainstream media is going to go.
WS Radio is headquartered here in San Diego. I hear there's going to be a San Diego WS Radio station very soon. Tell me a little bit about that, Chris.
Well, you know, it's interesting. We looked at how we were going to expand a few years ago, and there were several different models, from spending a lot of money and becoming very, very big. But what we ended up doing is franchising, where we're actually setting up local stations across the country, because that's the only thing we really don't offer is local programming. Right here in San Diego with our network, we've got about 85 remote studios all over the world, so the majority of our hosts are not in San Diego. And with the franchising model, it allows us to open up local markets for local programming, and San Diego is going to be no exception. Sometime in the near future, we're going to have WS Radio San Diego, which is going to focus on the local programming that people are looking for.
Chris, you have over 3 million listeners a month. Who are these listeners? Where are they coming from?
Well, because it's interesting, because what we end up doing is whoever show it is, as an example, I'll use eBay. eBay basically markets it directly to their eBay sellers and buyers. There's over 100 links on eBay that drives traffic to it. And because we can listen on demand, I mean, we have people that are calling into the live shows because they have questions, they want to participate, but it still goes back to they can listen 24/7. So when and how they listen is not as important to the fact that they can listen on demand.
Chris, thanks for being with us here today. And thank you for watching. Keep your eyes on WS Radio, folks. Good things are happening. Catch us next time on San Diego's Best and Brightest. I'm Beck Bamberger.